there's something called the AI index that ranks AI applications, especially generative AI tools. That AI index is based on correctness of information, then how fast it is able to give you a response. But key is the correctness of information. GPT is not even among the first three. And guys take GPT as the truth, gospel truth. It is not. GPT, the paid models are the ones that are like number 4 or 5. But you can imagine, yet guys take it for the gospel truth. Africans, we have something called token tax. If you ask it anything in regards to a local language, be it Swahili, Kikuyu, Luo, anything, it will figure it out somehow. It may not get it completely correct, but you can see it is trying. That charges you 3x more tokens than in English. So that makes access to these tools more expensive than for the regular Joe who just needs English. Because that means if you're paying 2 Gs for your GPT, for example, per month, whatever tokens it would take someone who's speaking English to it, for you, it will be like a third of that time if you're not speaking very correct English to it. There's something we call the anatomy of a prompt. The anatomy of a prompt is first you have to tell it what to be. Do not presume that it's gonna be something. Otherwise, it will just go and start getting things. And then you give it context. People forget to give AI context. Then that's why it starts hallucinating. It's giving you information that you don't need, that you didn't ask, because you're not giving it context of where it should be. It's getting the information and how it should get this information. But the best one, I always say, is give it sources. Sources and information will help it way much more.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Organic Guy podcast. This is your home of organic conversations. I'm your host, the Organic Guy, and right around here we have conversation on how we can make our food systems really work for us rather than against us. But today I want us to focus on AI. Like, what is it? How can you use it? How does it work? And to the simple terms, like, how can you effectively use it? And I think since most of the listeners of the podcast are in agriculture and in the farming space, there's always a joke that goes by like AI will be able to replace everybody except farmers. So yeah, it's always a very different perspective, and especially agriculture is seen like a traditional sort of industry. And to have this conversation, I don't think I could have gotten any better person to have this conversation with. And she goes by the name of Nyandia Gachago. Yeah, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for creating time for the pod. I feel like I got you at the right time, because after this, I feel like you're going to explode.
No, I always make time for farmers. Farmers are my favorite people. I feel right at home.
That's good, because I feel like after this, it will be very hard to get hold of you. So
I'll make time, I promise you. Because you're good at comms, you're good at communicating. So then I like communication. Then that way I'm able to plan ahead. So if you want me back, imagine I'll come back. If anyone requests, I will.
Cool. So there's so many places to start. And my goal for this conversation is to, at least by the end of it, people have a clue what is AI and how they can use it to better their business and, in like literal terms, make money from it. So before we get to that, just give us a little bit of context, like where you grew up. How was it like you growing up yourself, like in terms of personality? Are you sort of introvert, extrovert? So what was happening?
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Nyandia Gachago. I'm a chartered marketer, an AI educator and pro. And I grew up in the rural parts of Nyeri and Nanyuki. So I grew up deep in farming. So I saw this, especially with my mother. So my mother would like rent out plots. I don't know if people still do that now, where you go and lease land to farm. So my mom would lease out different plots, and then she would make us, and I'll say she would make us because kids never want to go to the farm. And then she would make us go with her whenever it's planting season or fertilizing season, or, just to check on the farm. And interestingly, now when I call back to those times as an adult, I'm like, that was some of the most fun I ever had, because it allowed me to go out of the house, because I came from a very strict household. So it allowed me to like just be out there. We were working, but it was fun. But my mom loves farming. So my mom was very deep into that. Now my dad is into it, but my mom was always into it. It also allowed us to see seasons and how they perform and what you should do in each season. And interestingly, that is what has shaped me in how I do my business, because of learning about seasons and taking advantage of the rain and the sunshine and the cold. All those things, they sort of shape you, because in as much as you don't think too much about it, it does define who you become later. The most brilliant part was when we moved to a very prominent place to farmers called Wambogo Farm in Nyeri. Wambogo Farm is where farming studies become actualized, where thousands of farmers go to this one place to learn about various things. So it's be it dairy farming. I remember the first time I saw sunflowers and I knew they were from pyrethrum was in like tens of acres in Wambogo Farm. And that was so interesting and incredible and beautiful to me, because it's a really tall plant that then has the sunflower at the top. So a good part of my childhood is based on farming and things that I saw done. And that was really, really incredible for me. So I thank God for that a lot. I thank God, because I experienced what most people don't get to experience.
Yeah, it's always interesting to get to know like how childhood shapes people later in life. I mean, they may not know like when they're growing up how that's going to turn out.
And also understanding things like how to seed and how to harvest, and application of that in your daily life. The fact about patience. Farmers, you have to be patient to watch that maize plant from the minute you're going to buy. There was a maize, I remember there was a seed called the thick or something. From the minute you have to plant it to watch, like, it's just interesting, because those are the basic concepts of life. The concepts of life come from farming. It's the most natural thing that emerged from time in history, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it's the closest thing to nature. Like, you can observe nature, and I think there's a reason why Jesus, the greatest teacher of all time, was so like emphasizing on like agriculture, even in parables.
Mustard seed, nini, like most of the parable. That is so interesting. I've never thought of it that way, but yes.
At least I can see you have that like agricultural sort of background. So when you're going to talk to farmers, at least you have that background already. So there's this thing called AI. A lot of people have been talking about it, and there's a lot of interest in it. So imagine now like you're talking to your mother. I'm not sure if she knows about AI yet, but yeah, you can sort of like explain like in a layman's term, what is this thing called AI?
AI is just the merging and amplification of humans through technology, truly, because AI learns from humans. It's just like a super intelligent human that is much faster, more efficient, and has access to a vast amount of data in a very short period of time. So if you look at it that way, then it tells you that artificial intelligence has been here for very long. As long as you've interacted with a computer, as long as you've had a smartphone, as long as you've had a greenhouse. Because some of these greenhouses are very smart. They're able to tell you the humidity, and it sends it to your phone, and it tells you might need to, add some temperature here, drop the temperature here, then figure that out, open it up kidogo. That is artificial intelligence at play. So artificial intelligence has been in banking, agriculture, and communication for way longer than people actually perceive, if you think about it that way. The fact that, like, if us who live in apartments, as Nairobians, we don't have access to the funds that everybody does. But the fact that if you have a plant, you have an app that you can just, screen your plant, and it tells you, oh, here we think you might not be putting more water, or reduce the water, or add some ash, or eggshells and all these other things. That is artificial intelligence at play. So when you think of it that way, then it demystifies this thing that people are making look very complex. It is not. It's been in your day-to-day life. As long as you've had WhatsApp, as long as you've been texting, as long as you've been on Meta, on Facebook, you've played around with artificial intelligence at some point.
When you put it that way, like in terms of, yes, it's something we've been using. It's just that now it's more of like supercharged. So it has a lot more information around what it can be used on. So for a farmer, let's say in a rural part of Kenya, who is trying to see what is the quickest way, like what is the easiest way I can use this thing called an AI, where should they start?
First of all, some of the most instrumental AI applications and creations of Africans is around agriculture and finance, as I mentioned. And that's why sometimes I get so frustrated that we are only talking about the GPTs, which is something we can talk about here because of how easy it is to access it, right? But we don't talk about, there's a cow feed AI tool. If you go to brands like Performeta, there's a brand called Performeta that works with farmers, both dairy and subsistence farming. But they have like, I think, 4 AI tools within there. One that is for like cows that are in calf, so it's able to tell you what to do when, what to expect when, how to help like all these things, and it just sends you texts, which is also a program that's been borrowed from something like Jacaranda Health, you know, the maternity hospital. They have also this AI tool where even if you're like someone who does not live where there is heavy internet, as long as you've been to one of their clinics, there's an AI tool that texts you almost every day, every week, to tell you how your pregnancy is going, what you should expect, what you should eat more. And so such things are the basis and the basics in existence of artificial intelligence, even in agriculture, other than just humanities. So the fact that as a farmer, you can access ChatGPT is amazing, because it can tell you, again, like we said, you can take a photo of if it's an animal or a plant, and it will tell you how to make it better. It can even create a schedule for you. And if you have a little bit of technical know-how, it can be sending you WhatsApp messages through, you know, automation, telling you how is your plant, you send photos to it, and then it can tell you all these things on how to make it better. But then I think every phone, most of the phones in existence have Google. Google in itself is a super AI tool. And I thank God that they got into the AI race a little bit later, because they took their time with the Gemini platform. They have a tool called Gemini, Google Gemini 2.5. It is easily the most brilliant generative AI tool right now in existence because of how broad it is. Because it has the video tool, it has the image tool, it has the coding tool, it has the meetings, it has so many things in one. As long as you have your Google in there, just get the Gemini app, because it will just link to your Google, because that means you have a Gmail. It will just link to your Google, and then you can just begin by talking to it. Talk to it, tell it, oh, I went and I saw this, and then it will help you. And the beautiful thing is that Google also has an interpretation tool. So if you're talking in Swahili, it's able to sort of interpret. Now, the sad thing is that as Africans, we have a bit more token tax than other countries. How is that? You know how you have tokens that allow you to, you know, do action. So the tokens are the ones that go reducing if you're subscribed to an AI tool that you're paying for. Africans, we have something called token tax. If you ask it anything in regards to a local language, be it Swahili, Kikuyu, Luo, anything, it will figure it out somehow. It may not get it completely correct, but you can see it is trying. That charges you 3x more tokens than in English. That is what I call, we get token tax in Africa. So that makes access to these tools more expensive than for the regular Joe who just needs English. And that's why I keep pushing, we need to use tools that are made by Africans, because then we don't get that token tax. Because that means if you're paying 2 Gs for your GPT, for example, per month, right now it's increased, it's like 3,200, but it started at 2 Gs. If you're paying that 2 Gs, whatever tokens it would take someone who is speaking English to it, for you it will be like a third of that time if you're not speaking very correct English to it. Yeah, and it's so sad. I don't like that at all. But if you have Google, get Gemini. Just have a conversation with it. It will tell you things that you can do to enhance your farms, to enhance your veggies, to enhance your fruits, and it's amazing. Also, I think it's important to say there's this organization, Calro. You know Calro? Calro has an AI tool as well. They have this tool that tells you, it maps where you are. So like if you activate that tool, it immediately connects to maps and picks the location you are. And then it tells you this specific season, this is what you should be planting. That is how many guys got into, what's this orange, this purple fruit that everybody got in, dragon fruit. That's how most people started getting into dragon fruit. Yeah, they have a brilliant tool. Let me check what it's called, because I think it's important that we say, and it's been in existence for years. Can you imagine? And I think it's one of the most brilliant tools that you can ever find. It's called Calro Selector. It's an app on Apple and Nini, and it tells you based on where you are, on map location, the type of soil that you have, the type of humidity, the type of water retention, and what you should plant what season. And people don't know this.
Oh, I didn't know about that, and I'm very much entrenched in this industry, so I don't know if it's my problem or it's their problem. But
It's a comms issue. They don't talk too much about it because that is one of the most mind-blowing tools I have ever found.
yeah, so it's sort of like this AI thing sort of sounds like an assistant, like something that is there to sort of complement in what you're doing, and especially in an era where in the agricultural sector there's been a lot of people complaining about we don't have enough extension officers. Like if a farmer wanted an extension officer, let's say in Mandera or in Nyanza, it's very hard to come across them. So these tools like ChatGPT or any other chatbots can you can go in there and sort of ask them.
Oh yeah, it becomes your farm tool. So the same way you use a djembe, literally AI is a djembe of sorts for you. So it just comes and complements everything you have.
The other thing is that we now already have like a lot of chatbots. I mean that's how most people are going to use AI. So you just mentioned about Gemini. Is that like the best platform that you would recommend, like for an average Joe to sort of go and use?
Yes, it is. First of all, there's something called the AI index. AI index is a Stanford index from Stanford University. They've created an AI index that ranks AI applications, especially generative AI tools that are chat-based. That AI index is based on correctness of information. Of course, that is key. Then how fast it is able to give you a response and all these, and how just all these other things. But key is the correctness of information. GPT is not even among the first three. And guys take GPT as the truth, gospel truth. It is not. Among the top, number one, I think, was Grok 4. The one for Elon Musk. And I think that's why it goes rogue, because I think he gives it a lot of free power to go learn. And as it learns, it becomes better. Of course, it makes mistakes. You remember like that time it went rogue and it started roasting people. It got a little bit racist on Twitter and all these other things. But that freedom has given it that capacity to grow and be among one of the top indexed generative AI tools. Grok 4, Perplexity, and so on and so forth. GPT, the paid models, are the ones that are like number 4 or 5. But you can imagine, yet guys take it for the gospel truth. GPT is one of the tools where you really have to cross-check anything it gives to you. There was a report that was released. Before I say it's a McKinsey tool, let me verify. But you can imagine these big data farms, they released a document. Oh my God, it's so bad. It's really bad. And those ones that are released by like a group of professors, and there's people take it as gospel truth because you expect this is based on research, A good percentage of that data was generated by GPT, and it had so many wrong things. It was citing unreal sources that do not exist. Can you imagine? So you really have to go through the things that GPT gives you, especially if it's not something that something that If for me who is in marketing, I can be able to tell this is not true, this is not true, this is not true, this is biased, it's also very biased as well. It has a lot of bias, which I don't understand why it has so much bias. But yeah, it's important to check your GPT output a lot. There's a good chance, 70-80%, it's not correct. It's not fully correct. So it's important to always cross-check that.
Definitely. And in an area where like the ChatGPTs have become like sort of Google.
Oh yeah, it's Deloitte actually. Deloitte, to refund the government, they admitted they used AI in a $440,000 report. This is Deloitte Australia. It had errors, including 3 non-existent academic references and a made-up quote from a federal court judgment. How crazy. $500,000 report that they have to refund to the government because they cited fake information. Yeah, and a quote from a federal court judgment. That is crazy.
The audacity is incredible.
Can you imagine? That is insane. So you'll be over here saying the government said this. It's non-existent. It's deepfake. Kwanza, we're going into an election period, so you can imagine how many deepfakes will be generated. I think the people who are going to make money next year are these guys. Like I have a friend who has a deepfake checker, like a really good one. I think those are the people who are going to make money in governments that are going into election periods. Because my God.
Yeah, and it always impresses me like to see how many people nowadays can't differentiate like between an AI made video like and a real video. So I see those kind of videos on the internet and everybody's like, reacting to them, and I'm like, really, you can't see this is AI? So yeah, if that trend continues, then it becomes very hard. So the other thing is actually like for you to get the right kind of information from those AI, you have to feed it the right kind of prompts, right? And that's something that I enjoy personally from from your posts in terms of like guiding us and helping us a little bit of information of, hey, if you want AI to give you like this kind of picture, just use this kind of prompt and you'll get it. So for you, like, what are the best in terms of like, if you want to prompt your AI to give you the best information, what is the best structure to follow?
There's something we call the anatomy of a prompt. The anatomy of a prompt is first you have to tell it what to be. Do not presume that it's going to be something. The most brilliant way that you can go about this, especially if you have just a little bit of technical know-how, is getting research papers and adding them as files on your GPT. You see where there's a plus. So in GPT, the best way to do GPT is to first of all create folders. And these are the generative tools are also allowing you to create folders. Now you create a folder, you can call it tomato, you have one for cabbage, because you're in farming, you have dairy cow one. Maybe if you have like multiple cows, you can figure out how to do that. But then within each, it allows you to add a source of information. If you can create sources of information based on research, data that you know that you have, that you can access. If you can always go to Google, access these like decades of information in regards to farming. And this is actual information. You can add this as a source file. So your GPT, this specific project, whenever you're prompting it, asking it something, if it's in regards to, for example, tomatoes, it will go to your source file and look for the information there and create sources from that source file that you've added multiple documents and links and sources. So then that way it's able to get it from a reliable source because you're the one who gave it the route of where it should get the information from. So one way to get better output is to give it a source. Now back to the anatomy of a prompt. The anatomy of a prompt, you have to tell it what to act as. Otherwise it will just go and start getting things. Then you're going to now start getting what we call the AI hallucinations. Because now you're like, what is this even talking about? It's giving you like odd things. And if you don't cross-check, you'll be like Delight Australia, where you're citing fake sources, which is very problematic. So tell it what to act as. Act as a seasoned farmer with 20 years of experience in this specific field. You can even go in depth if it's something that, you understand in that sort of way. Then that way, you've given it a basis of where to start as. So any place that it's going to look for information, if you've not added sources, that way it knows it should only go to a place of thinking like what you're asking. So it will now be like a bit more knowledgeable to create a knowledge base of sorts. Then once you do that, you give it, the question that you're asking, and then you give it context. People forget to give AI context. Then that's why it starts hallucinating. It's giving you information that you don't need, that you didn't ask, because you're not giving it context of where it should be getting, why it's getting the information, and how it should get this information. Then that is a good way to have the anatomy of a prompt. Tell it what to act as, ask the question, and then give it context of this thing that you're asking. But the best one, I always say, give it sources. Sources and information will help it way much more.
Kind of makes sense. And especially if you're dealing like with very insightful things that you want it to give you, then they are going to that extent of giving the AI the specific information that you need. Makes sense. And also like the context bits. Because if you're very clear, like, hey, I'm a farmer, let's say in Nyeri, I grow avocados, and then you give that kind of information, you give the type of soil.
Because you can imagine, if you don't say, like, I'm a farmer in Nyeri, if you can even be specific to where you are, then it will give you broad-based information. It could pull from a farmer in US, a farmer, it's different context, kabisa. Then now you're busy doing things that will not work for you.
Yeah, that makes sense as well. In the conversation of AI, I don't know where you lie in this. Are you sort of like an optimistic, or are you sort of like a pessimistic? Because there are people who say, you know what, we should just stop what we're doing with AI. I think it's going to go rogue. It's going to kill us all. So where do you tend to lie in those conversations?
I'm not someone who focuses on what is already gone. The cat is out of the bag. This is not a cat you can put in the bag. And that is why I sometimes get very frustrated by governments and unions that have not created measures for their people on the use of AI and protected their people from these AI companies. Because AI is the biggest form of big data that we've ever seen, right? So you're finding governments like Denmark, which have protected their people because they've told these AI companies, first of all, for the Danish people, you must have servers in Denmark. And that cannot be accessed by people outside Denmark. You cannot be producing images of Danish people. No, you cannot. It's not allowed. You see, it protects identity theft, fraud, things like that. But you see, that's a government that came in and set measures. It's almost the same thing, but it can be arguable what US are doing with TikTok. Yeah. There's that bit of protection, then there's that bit of control. But you can see where that is going. I think it's imperative that governments and unions come together and create this. The European Union created an AI framework years ago based on threat levels. So it has like level A, level B, level C. I think they even have now to the level where the movie happens where the robots are trying to take control. But if you sit and ask the African Union, hakuna. Most African countries, zero. They have nothing. We're busy chasing, TikTok have an office, Nini. Meanwhile, the actual threat is in artificial intelligence and what it can do with the African data. Because we tend to give out data for free. Meanwhile, we have data that is so important to us that we should keep to ourselves as African people. So I don't even focus on this AI thing of let's stop it, because where it's gone, it cannot be put back in the bag. There's a guy we call the godfather of AI. He's the one who actually coined the term artificial intelligence. I'm trying to remember if it was in the 50s or 60s. He said he was given a Nobel Peace Prize last week, by the way. He said that the one way he thinks we can be able to control AI is by creating a mother AI. A maternal AI tool is the one that will be able to tame the rest of AI. And I was like, that's interesting thinking. And if you think about it logically, even as humans, people fear moms. You know what I mean? But he did say that if we're creating a big maternal AI, we'll be able to control what AI can do. And it was based on research. And I mean, he's a professor in artificial intelligence, like from top universities in the world. And I was like, oh my gosh, that actually makes sense. It's also why you're finding now guys like Microsoft are coming, they're setting up space somewhere. I think it's in Naivasha, an AI center. Yes, an AI center, because they want to create an AI that is based on African values, because now that makes it a bit more maternal. Because if you think about it, African values are very stringent on behavior. Like there are things they don't allow. You see, like the way, like for example, things like when you think about the atrocities of life, from things like there are things that we say are un-African. Things like child abuse. These people who make all these sorts of sexist jokes, such things would be controlled if we as Africans created a tool that is like us. Because we're not very, westernized in that way. See, we are a bit strict. So even the AI tool would mimic that. And I think that's his thought process when he says building a maternal AI would be able to tame what people are foreseeing happening.
Yeah, I think there was a time I was reading, there were guys in Nakuru who are sort of trying to make like a Kenyan-made AI tool. I can't remember its name.
There's many. That's the funny thing. What was it supposed to do?
It was a ChatGPT for Kenyan context. So it would speak, I think it was called Simba AI or something like that. So it's could speak in Swahili.
Oh, yeah. Language. There's even Sauti. I think there's Sauti AI. I think there's almost, if not more, 100 AI tools made in Kenya for Kenya. Agriculture, fintech, marketing, we're building a few of them, and so on and so forth. It's just in fashion. There's one tool that had been made to be able to pick fabrics. It was for design. And this was before Google had launched theirs. You know, Google has this fashion AI tool. I'm trying to remember the name. I can't remember it. But essentially, if you have like a fashion store, if I have a fashion store in Tao where I'm selling clothes, people can just upload their avatars, their photos, and then they just pick the cloth. And then it helps you see, is this really like my color? Is this really working for me? Because it even picks your body type, and then it can even give recommendations. There's Kenyans in fashion who had actually created such a tool before Google Gemini launched theirs. So we have so many tools, and guys don't know this. There's even one, there's an AI tool. It's called Sophie or Sophia. It was created by a girl. It's literally a sex ed tool for teens. And because of Kenyan communication and data, you can access it via USSD. Tools that are made for Africa that are accessible with USSD are the ones that will hit. Because you can't live on the presumption that everybody has access to internet bundles at all the time. So this chick had created this application, and it's still functional. I'm trying to, it's either Sophia or Sophie. I'll check and then I'll tell you. And kids who are like just getting to know about sex and they're embarrassed, afraid to ask the parents, they just go and it educates you. And it's very nice. It's in an African way. So it's not like telling you, the Western things that you would think. It's very specific. It's just a sex ed class. So it helps you understand your body changes, what you should expect, where you should ask for help, and so on and so forth. Just navigating those things as a teenager. And I think it's brilliant, the things that Africans come up with.
I don't know if it's us who are not looking for such information.
It's a comms issue. I think anybody who has an AI tool needs to talk to me. Honestly, just come tell me I have an AI tool. Aki, I wouldn't even charge you that much. I promise. Just come to me. We figure out how to get these AI tools out there. There's so many, including Swahili bots. There's even a bot that actually talks, I think, in 10 or 20 Kenyan languages. I'm like, gosh. We need to get on these things more.
Definitely. The other thing about you is that I started by saying you're a chartered marketer as well. So you have a lot of information, I think, to share in terms of helping people market their products or get out there in terms of their brand being more knowledgeable, people knowing more about it. So I want to pick your brain around marketing, especially for, from a farmer's context. This, I think, something that they don't do a lot, especially on social media. At least nowadays, I see a lot more people talking about their struggles about farming, or a bumper harvest, or building communities talking around farming. So from your context, what is the best way for farmers to approach social media for them to use it for their marketing?
Oh my gosh. Let me tell you, I don't even know how to say it, because farmers not being that much on socials is what has created all these brokers who then come in and backhand them on costs of, be it cabbage, anything. If you think about it, I remember one of my favorite Ndoma people, and I mean Ndoma, Ndoma ya Asubuhi, is from Twitter. It's a chick. She's called Anita. She's a friend of mine who would connect us on Twitter to a Ndoma farmer. So she would give us fresh Ndoma. Because, I don't know if there was a Ndoma scarcity at that point. I'm trying to remember what created that need. But people were also getting not nice Ndomas. Nairobians, I think, when you're born in Nairobi, you don't get to see and experience Ndoma za nje. Now, us who come from the bush know what is a good Ndoma, a good sweet potato, a good maize plant, Because now, here, you get what the farmers will give you. And sometimes the farmers don't always give you the best. The rest is for the family and for the people, the neighbors and all those things. So you see that, it's just that Anita, I think it was either her mom or her aunt or something. That is one case of how easy, and she would sell out quickly on Twitter. We would have to now put orders 2 weeks in advance. Same to a guy we used to call Plug Ndoma. I don't know why Ndoma is prominent in this. It's like a recurring theme. There's a friend of mine also called Plug Ndoma. So he would shop for you, and he would shop for politicians, nini. He would go to Uko Kikuyu, to the farms. Unamwambia tu, I need this. So he had created packages. So package ya 3K, package ya 5K, package ya 10K, iko na fruits na veggies fresh from the market. So he'd go to the market at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., anakufanyia shopping, anakutumia kwako. And I think that was, you see how interesting it is. But now imagine if the farmers actually were able to do this. And there are farmers who figured this out. I remember when I was with A close friend of mine, childhood friend, is the founder of Mount Kenya Hub. He's currently the chairperson of hubs in Kenya. We had this app that farmers could onboard themselves at like, I think, 100 bob a month. It was a marketplace for farming, essentially. So if farmers were curious on sasa nani atanunua, there is a need. A lot of people have WhatsApp. Weka tu, on your same phone, download WhatsApp for business. Weka products yako hapo, weka pricing, and then add a payment gateway on your WhatsApp. We will literally, as long as your number is out there, whether it's on a Facebook page or whatever, because most farmers have, I'm like on 3 farmer groups on Facebook. I've been for the like 10 years or so. Weka number yako hapo. We will go to your WhatsApp, shop, pay. We may not even need to bother you with interactions if you're not into it. We just need to see catalog. Uko na ndoma, uko na ngwashe, you have green peppers, you have yellow peppers. We just shop, add to cart, pay, tunaeka delivery location, na unatutumia. That is one of the basic ways that at least you can market and let us get your products. WhatsApp is now allowing for ads. You can advertise like for 100 bob. From WhatsApp, inaenda to Meta. So Meta means it goes to Facebook, Instagram, and also on WhatsApp. Imagine that alone is also enough for your business. You don't need to overthink all these things. If you have access to AI, ChatGPT can create for you basic templates or basic posters that you can use to push. Same to Google Gemini using Nano Banana. It will mesh products into one image and give you a poster that has your number, if it's an email address, maybe for your farm, and so on and so forth. Kuna vitu that you can do basic. WhatsApp is one of the most basic tools because I know most people have WhatsApp in Africa. You can get your products to us because especially us who live in these urban areas have a need for that connection to the rural, literal farm to plate. So that is one of the easiest ways to get. Farmers are so revered and loved that you don't even need to go through that marketing step for connection. You know where you need to attach it to an emotion and tell us why we should buy from you. Food is a basic need. You don't even need to go through all those other steps or why you should buy from me. I grow things, I use manure, I am boozy, sijui nini. You don't even need to do all that. You're a farmer. You're a basic necessity to life. People will buy from you. So utilize these simple things. ChatGPT, your Google, your WhatsApp. It will push your products in the right places.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's good you emphasize like you don't have to complicate it, like hire like a professional graphic designer and can design your photos. So you can just basically start with where you are. And of course, with the use of AI, you can also do that like literally through a prompt.
Quick kaposta tu na tu picha. Yeah, and it will create that for you. And then you just push it. And farmers are the one people that don't need to do a lot of studies because they've done it so long. They understand soil. They understand seasons. So even just taking a video on your basic phone, getting this TikTok Lite that's been created by Safaricom. Safaricom have a TikTok Lite product for the same way they have like YouTube. They have a YouTube package as well where you use, credits and buy bundles that are specific to give you access to smaller versions of TikTok. Ndio simu isikue heavy sana, yaanze kuhang and all those things. They have TikTok Lite and they have, Facebook Lite, and they also have a YouTube product as well. And I think all these are created for mostly with farmers in mind, small businesses. Mama mboga ni nini, ndio unaeza, you can take a quick video kwa kibanda yako tu. Sasa leo nimekatakata hii skuma hivi, even ka video ka ukikata skuma tu. Ama ukiwa tu kwa farm unasema unaona hii haijaiva because season ni hii na hii na hii. The things that you know, it's like air to you, you breathe. Tuwekea tu online, mitandao by the way inapenda such content. One of the most followed and engaged with pages on TikTok are farmers, the basic ones. It's not the expert short ones, by the way. Interestingly, ni zile zinakaa tu imeshutiwa kwa hata hakupanguza hata ka lens ka camera, hakufanya akapitia. But unaona, oh my gosh, this is really a farmer. Like people love that content.
There's a school of thought where it's like if you're going to start on social media, just pick one platform and go with it, or just like try different kind of platforms for you to go with this? What will you advise for someone who's starting out?
Now, here is where now the marketing will pop in. I'll say this. Your customers dictate where you go. Study your customer first. Your customer will tell you where to go. You don't need to be on all platforms. I say this a lot. First of all, what do you need Pinterest for? Snapchat, sijui nini. There's so many. You can't keep tabs on all of them unless that's your work. Like me, that's my job. So I have to keep tabs. Sadly. I have to keep tabs of all of them and all their developments. But if you're B2B, why are you not on LinkedIn? That should be the one main platform you should be on, is LinkedIn and meta groups. So creating a meta channel, a WhatsApp channel, and being on one of these Facebook groups that people can find you. Everything, most of the things I've bought, even goats, I'm a dairy farmer now myself. I'm not, I don't like the plant thing. I discovered that's not my jam. So me, I'm more into the animal farming. So that's like my sweet spot. So all of the goats that I've bought, the ones that we didn't get from Ushago, were from a group on Facebook that I discovered. Then nikakimbia hapa Ruai, went and saw the farm, started getting the goats, which ones have nini, which ones are pregnant, which ones are not, and so on and so forth. You can imagine. That's how I found it. So I think one of the main things, just know your customer. Customer wako atakwambia where you need to go. If your customer is, maybe because you're growing some, I don't know what you're growing that 18-year-olds need, but need to buy. But if your customer is on the younger base, then that tells you need to be on the video platforms. You need to be on TikTok, you are always the escape. You might need a bit on Twitter and so on and so forth. If you're B2B, if you're heavily on B2B, you need to be on LinkedIn, you need to be on Facebook groups. Your customer will tell you where to go. Don't even stress so much on understanding the platforms before you understand your customer. Their age group, their gender, how much they make, an estimation of where they are in the corporate rank, things like that. We'll always tell you where they get their information from. Now, you just need to go to where they get their information from. That's it.
There's always an assumption, like Instagram is for posh, like it has the highest conversion rate. So if you want like to sell to a middle class and higher class sort of people, you should go to Insta.
No. The data is different. People have Instagram everywhere. The biggest TikTok pop-out was some chick from Muranga. She's called Kairetu or something. Some funny name too. She is just a normal girl in shags. She's one of the biggest TikTokers like to pop. You find her to advise things. And she speaks like with the heaviest accent you can ever imagine. That tells you that people are everywhere. Instagram, for a while, yes, was perceived to be more middle class. Unapata akina, gari, watu wa gari, watu was due to nails, nini, all these things. But again, it's an algorithmic thing. If your Instagram is showing you that, it means that's what you've been looking for. If you start looking for like farming, now you're going to discover a different side of Instagram as well. So it's an algorithmic sort of thing. So usiogope, if you can take a photo, go on the platforms. Platforms are free to be on. Musema, take advantage of the platforms that are free to be on. But don't stress yourself by having to be on all platforms. I think video form content is in season right now for the past like 2 years onwards. So it's important for you to create short form video. Mtoto wako tu anaweza kurekodu kitu. You don't even have to look at the camera. Unaweza kuwa unapalilia tu. Then ako hapo anakushoot video. Mom, tuambie ni nini unafanya. People love that. People love that content. The people who matter don't seek perfection in your content. The people who matter just look for the humanity in your content. If you're a human, just a normal person, people love that. The people who matter. You don't worry about these people who will come and tell you things like, amge panguza camera. I promise you that's not even someone who would buy from you. It's never your customers who say things like that. It's never. Your customers know exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah, and for someone who is starting out, is there like a time frame that they should consider? Because building a brand is hard. I'm sure you also have like your own story in terms of like since when you started and since up to when you popped out. So for someone who's starting out, how long should they expect to take before their brand sort of start catching on?
For your brand to be hot, at least people understand it and it's everywhere. I always say give it 6 to 12 months. 6 to 12 months is a good period for you to even have built your own consistency. Musema hivi, consistency beats motivation 100%. Because for you to be motivated, it means there's a drive, there's a reward system that's already in place. Consistency is not based on any reward system. It's just based on you building habit. So consistency will always beat motivation. Utapata, for you, even the days where you're unwell, because you've consistently built this podcast, you will show up. It's a consistency thing. It's nothing to do with, you're getting monetized, that's good. That's a result of your consistency. But it's not the driver of why you consistently show up to your podcast. That is just a habit you've built. So habits will catch on. You'll start building your content, being on these applications, engaging with people. I always say give it 6 to 12 months. That way you will become sticky. Yeah, so that people now look for you. They go to their TikTok. If you don't pop up within the first few minutes, now they're going to search for you. Same on your Facebook. They'll go to search for you. Sijamuona leo. That 6 to 12 months of consistency will build that for you. Then people will start now to take keen attention and notice to who you are. But I always say the first step in true brand building, a sticky brand, is clarity on who you are as a person. There's something I say, drinking from every cup is what gets you poisoned. You have to know who you are. Otherwise, you will jump onto every opportunity that comes your way. Let's say you're a farmer, you're on TikTok, you've started getting noticed 3 to 6 months in, then you've started getting to brand deals. Nani wants to send you their seeds. This one wants to try out their greenhouse technology. Who. Drinking from every cup will get you poisoned. Clarity on who you are is the first way to build a sticky brand, because then that means you are not easily persuaded into doing things that were not your long-term goal. Don't make long-term plans with short-term people and short-term things. Knowing who you are, what problem you solve, and why you care to solve it. We are all solving a pain point. So there's that general thing that we're always talking about. Solve a pain point should be why you're starting a business. No, I don't say that. I think it's because I'm in marketing and comms is essential. So I say it's more so why you care to solve that pain point. That is the difference between why you've started this podcast versus someone else who has a competitive podcast. It's why you actually care to do it. Otherwise, you're all solving a pain point, because we are trying to demystify this agricultural space for people. But then why do you care? That is where the actual source lies. So knowing who you are, building consistently for 6 to 12 months will help you have a sticky brand.
Yeah, so it doesn't happen overnight.
No. It's consistent. Lazima you put in some work hapo. Kitambo it used to be quick because there were not too many. But now you can imagine how many other people are on the platforms.
And the thing about I've also noticed about the niche is that there's always someone on the internet who sort of resonates with you, or who have similar ideas that you're trying to portray. So they are always going to find you. So as long as you stay consistent and do it for a longer period of time, the algorithm is sort of going to pop them to you. So you can do it in a few months and you're like, okay, nobody's watching.
Ama you start saying, oh gosh, I'm now starting to see competitors. Sasa mimi si produce content kama wao. Because there's also that part of the algorithm where you start now being brought creators like yourself. 3-month, 6-month mark there, most of your algorithm starts bringing people like you. I don't know why they do it. I don't know if it's to build your morale to now do more, but that can dishearten you even more than disheartening you at your content is not being watched. Kama kuna kitu inaweza kudishearten is to see your competitors, your fellow farmers who are also creating content. That is part of the algorithm. That starts to happen right before you start elevating. You start being shown what your competitors are doing. Most of the time they do it to try and show you which type of content hits, which type of content does not hit, how they are shooting their content, the structure of their content, ndio uone mahali you should put yourself. But right before you hit, you start seeing what competitors are doing. Yeah.
And that's going to separate you between your why on why you started and why you need to keep that consistency going. The most interesting thing about you as well is that you've been named in among the top 25 women in digital in the country. So that means you have some influence, and I always struggle to separate between influence and sort of celebrity in terms of you've started popping and things are going well. How do you define influence, and should more people sort of seek influence than sort of being a celebrity?
Yes. And let me tell you, there's even a difference between an influencer and an influential person. Influencers have numbers. influential people may have lower numbers, but they influence the right spaces, the niches. I find that as the sweet spot, that I am influencing AI and marketing and branding as opposed to influencing the general mass, because I don't need to. If you go, for example, to my LinkedIn data, 60 to 70% of people who watch my content are CEOs. That is in the right spot. You may not be the one with the most followers. You may not be the one who has 6 million views, but you know, the eyes that are watching you, the eyeballs, are the right ones. That is what you seek. People seek followers. I don't think that is a strategy. It depends on where you are again. I feel like beauty spaces are different from lifestyle spaces. They're different from farming spaces. They're different from marketing spaces and branding spaces, educators spaces. It's important you find your niche and find what drives that niche. Because you can also have followers, and this is one problem I see with brands. You chase someone with followers, they give you very low conversions. Then you go to someone who has like 10K, 7K followers. 50% of the people who follow them buy. You're like, I got 3,000 purchases within like 6 months from this one influencer who's not even an influencer, if you go by what people like to term as an influencer, as opposed to someone who had hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions. It's very important to also know that. So for me, influence is not followers. It's more so impact and being in the right spots where people can spot you. So if you chase followers, that's the wrong thing. Followers should be as a result of your influence. Most people do it the other way. Right now, strategy is not doing it that way, doing it the other way, where you chase impact as opposed to followers. Then that way, you will never struggle, because all you need is 10, 20 of those people to give you business. You don't want to also, and this is also like something I was telling guys who are starting up their own brands, agencies, Nini. You have 20 clients, but then these 20 clients are paying you 10, 15, 20K. Meanwhile, someone who is patient and is building their brand and, again, they know themselves. So they are not chasing everyone. Like I'm saying, drinking from every cup is what gets you poisoned. They will get one client who will pay them more than your 20 clients combined. So chase impact as opposed to followers. That is what will build you a sticky brand. 10 years, utajipata bado, you're hot. As opposed to someone who chased clients, did promos and all these other things, akafika hundreds of thousands. But influence, kwanza ukienda pale hivyo kwa data yao, you're like, but you have 1 point something million. How is it that 1,000 people are the ones liking your photo with 1 point something million? How is it that comments are like 20? Then you now understand. Kuna vanity metrics and actionable metrics. Chase actionable metrics, the things that actually matter, the human engagement, that connection, as opposed to followers.
Yeah, that completely makes sense. And I think we are now past the age where people used to buy followers for like to be seen like, hey, I have a lot more people following me than the other person.
But I'll tell you this. Do you know currently the most users of the internet are bots? Humans are the least number compared to bots, especially because of AI. That's why on Instagram right now, almost every other ad, because I study ads a lot, is these applications that, we'll grow your Instagram to sijui what, we'll do this sijui what, because bots have now outnumbered the number of people who are on the internet. And I think that is very crazy. Like in 4 years, humans will be a very small percentage of internet users. That is why that NVIDIA guy, Jensen Huang, the founder of NVIDIA, was saying the money and the impact on AI is not on the large learning models, it's on the small ones. It's on the bots that are actually making the large models run, because those are the true impact as opposed to this big one.
And those are going to shape how the larger ones work.
They will shift perception. And once there's a perception shift, that's why there's these guys who say we live in a simulation. Their theory is that perception is being shaped by specific people. And the older you get, the more you are like, oh gosh, that's true. Perception is being shaped by the big companies in the world, because they're the ones who will, affect economies. They will affect this. You see, that shifts now perception of everything. Fuel goes up, mkate goes up, nini, that shifts. That's why people say we live in a simulation, and I'm like, the older I get, the more I'm like, oh, I understand what you mean.
There was some sort of truth in there. The other thing about you is that you have a lot of content, and you've said a lot of things. So I have this segment called Decoded. So I have some interesting quotes that I've come across your social media channels, and I would like sort of you to expound on them. So the first one is viral content isn't luck, it's patterns. What do you mean by that?
It's human behavior. There's a reason why specific content creators are able to map human behaviors from studying 1,000 creators who are hitting and 1,000 creators who are struggling, and they're able to derive patterns, and they tell you if you follow this format, there's a high chance you will go viral. And in true, when guys now go and follow that pattern, say on TikTok, on how your content is formatted, you're like, how did I get more views than I've ever gotten? Because viral patterns are based on human behavior. The way people are speaking, that's why everybody's talking about viral hooks, every corner, left, right, and center. Because people have understood there's a human behavior that can be studied, and it's repetitive enough, and it affects your brain in a very specific way. And people have realized that, and now they are easily making that, because of AI is able to discern for you into words that go in line with your content, and they are able to perceive that. It's based on patterns of humans. So it's a human pattern, human emotions, how people react. That is how viral patterns are created. There's something Mutua, I don't know if you know Mutua Madheka. Mutua Madheka is like, his background is architecture, but he's one of the most brilliant photographers, I'll say, in the world. He is amazing. My goodness, he is amazing. There's a day Mutua Madheka said that Kenyans, we've become easy to rage bait, which is true. And what people don't know is that politicians know this so much so they influence a good percentage of the conversations that are happening online, even the anti-government ones, without you guys knowing, but they're influenced by a politician somewhere because they've realized how Kenyan emotions run high in specific conversations. Another place this has been learned is by international celebrities and influencers and that sort of thing. They've actually realized that if you mention Kenyans when your content was dipping, and you start either, whether in a positive note or a negative note, your interactions will go back up because Kenyans will flood your comments. You said something negative about Kenyans, oh my gosh, they'll rain on you. That is why you're finding a lot of international creators are now having like a thing for Kenyans because they've learned how we are reactive. So that's viral patterns are based on human behavior. And it's predictive.
Thanks. Yeah, that makes sense. The second one is, as a woman, I do not think you can have everything. I just don't think you can have everything at once.
Yeah, I think so. First of all, nobody wants to have everything all at once. If you've watched the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once, it tells you a lot. Humans, I know we say we are not limited, but in actuality, biologically, we are limited. That's why you need to rest, you need to sleep. Otherwise, if we could all just function 24 hours of the day, we'd not be sleeping. Sleeping would not be a habit that we had. What I believe is, I think as women, you have this need, and it's a big part of it is imposed on you by society to figure it all out. Motherhood, being a wife, working, and then somehow put that all in one box and run your business as well and make sure all of it is succeeding. I do not think that is humanly possible. I think you will have the worst burnout you can ever have. The beauty of this is that you need to just study seasons. The season of parenting you're in, the season of being a wife you're in, the season of business you're in, season of being a student you're in, and maximize on those seasons as they're happening. Then that way you will be more fulfilled as opposed to doing 10% of this, 10% of this, 10% of this. I think just study your seasons. You will find things that work for you. Don't try to do it all at once. Men don't do it, by the way. Men don't try to do it all at once. Men are like, if I'm in the flow of work, I'm going to do it. As we're stressed, oh gosh, mtoto, oh sijui nini, oh my neighbors, my relatives are doing. But then all that, just study your seasons, the season you're in, and maximize on that season, as opposed to you don't want everything all at once. It can be very overwhelming.
Definitely makes sense. And as men, it's actually harder for us even to like concentrate on doing on two things. But I see women all the time, like one is watching, listening to music, cooking, or trying to clean the house. So it's a lot of multitasking going on. And for me, I find that very hard to actually concentrate.
And to optimize. It's very hard to optimize on 10% of everything. But if you can give a 60% here, do that.
So as we finish, I would like to hear your thought on the whole AI space. Let's say 10, 20 years from now, where do you see it going? Do you have like an eyeball on it?
I think we're right now in the infancy stages of AI, which is already mind-blowing once you see what they're doing with video generation and so on and so forth. First of all, in the next about 2 years, everything will be agentic. That means people will have automated a lot of their redundant tasks. Those tasks that are menial, repetitive, you can automate those. Right now, it's very few of us who are automating correctly, just based on the fact that not everybody is into AI like that. But because we're in the AI revolution right now, if you study the agrarian revolution, the industrial revolution, there is the way things preceded and proceeded each other. That is how it's going to happen. You will be forced to implement AI. It's not a question of how, it's a question of when. Because it's like computers. You see the way computers came and everybody was like, do we need it? We can still use calculators which was brilliant. And there are people who are still very book-centric like that. But computers became so imperative that they were implemented in our phones. Everybody who has a smartphone literally has a computer with them. AI is going to be the same. It's going to be employed. If you've been using Siri, Alexa, I don't know what the Samsung one is called. Is it Galaxy? Yeah, use the Galaxy. When you talk to Galaxy, you already have AI with you. So it's going to become more agentic, where you can give one instruction and it's executed over 5, 10 AI tools, and all you get is a final result. What would have taken you weeks will now be quicker. So I think that's where we're going to be, and it's going to be insane. I'm so excited. And I hope now governments will now put in more measures to protect its people.
I saw recently there's like some country that appointed like an AI minister.
Albania, yeah?
Yeah, I think we are headed into that direction as well, because now it reduces sort of a lot of human interaction. Yeah.
Once it was an AI finance minister. Do you see the way the other ministers reacted? They were throwing makaratasi in their... They were so mad. Singapore has implemented AI for months now. It's able to predict habits in traffic. If an accident is about to happen, it's able to predict it. And if they're not able to stop it from happening, they clear out the hospitals that are close to that accident. So minimizing the loss of human lives. So they are able to send in systems, because they've also implemented it in health. They are able to, the traffic one is able to talk to the infrastructure and the health one to clear routes once this accident happens. It's able to predict how it will stop which traffic will continue, so that they can get quicker to the accident space, the ambulances, and they can get to hospitals, and the hospitals, specific doctors and nurses and wards are freed up. If you think about it, that is where it is supposed to be. It's supposed to be there because it's just based on human studies. We have how many hundreds of years of data as humans? It can be able to predict another 100 years. It may not be to the T, because there are factors that we call black swan events, like the way COVID happened. You couldn't have seen it, like hurricanes. There are things that you may not be able to tell. So black swan events can be removed, but it can be able to predict human habits. So if we can implement that, especially in the ministries, in the organizations, in the places that matter in governance.
Is the cost going to be our privacy? Because I'm imagining, you're giving access to ChatGPT or Grok, or, because you want like this quick of information that you need for yourself. We just need to accept that, hey, you are going to give up your privacy for all this convenience you're going to get.
Yeah, and I think also that's why now I'm saying governments needs to be stringent. OpenAI needs to have these data centers in every country, and that data is not accessed by other people. That's the only way, because otherwise, for it to learn well, it has to have access to a lot of data, a lot of it. So build stringent measures on your data. And governments are powerful enough to do things like that. You say, mtatoka na mtatoka. Or build your own systems. Already it's been proven, and people are building their own tools.
Talking about like your legacy, do you ever think about that? Like, let's say when all is said and done, what do you want at least people to talk about you?
This is so interesting because I always say I want my legacy to be the things that are lacking in the world, like my children. I want them to be known they were good people, kind people. So there's that part where you want to be known, that you did your part. You left your footprint on earth and it was a positive footprint. And a big part of that is also that I hope I'm able to democratize knowledge on a marketing, AI, branding and comms standpoint to where every business feels that they can succeed based on what they know, as opposed to the monopolization of knowledge that happens, where you find it's like for you to access people like me, for example, you have to pay, you have to do all these things. So that makes it a bit harder for smaller businesses to learn. So I hope a big part of my legacy was that I did not gatekeep and I gave it to people for free where I could. And they were able to scale their businesses. Yeah, using AI, because that is going to be key part of the next generations.
Yeah, and I can attest to that. You've been really, really gracious to me in terms of having you on the podcast. So yeah, you're already building that. Interestingly, you run Minty Lime. So I was actually thinking about it because if you said to me on a street somewhere, I wouldn't say like immediately it's a marketing sort of agency. Yeah, how did you come up with that name in the first place?
Minty Lime is actually so we co-own it, myself and my partner. So we are the co-founders. So we always say it's like a cocktail, a mint and a lime. So that's why we call it Minty Lime. One is the creative, which is me, where all you want to do is spending and all these other things. And then you always need a rational co-founder who has like a financial background, who is able to scale things, who is able to like create visions for how the company should go. And then now you as the creative is to match that vision. So for us, it was more so as a cocktail, and it was a very interesting name and I really loved it. He came up with the name and it's brilliant.
Yeah. So in like a simple term, like what do you usually offer like people?
Okay. So we are an AI creative agency. So we help brands implement AI into their creative processes, marketing processes. And then outside of that, we are a marketing 360 agency where we manage brands. Or if you want, we come in and we build internal creative agencies within brands, because there are brands who are so big, it makes sense for them to now have their own agency within that. You've seen it with you've seen like Diageo Academy, you've seen EABIT with the ABL with Diageo Academy, you've seen it with multiple brands where they're so big, they now get to a place where they can create their own agency as opposed to having 10 different agencies doing the work for you. So that's something also we do for brands, but is in the whole creative marketing comms PR space.
Pretty good. What's your opinion on this? Because for a very long time I've heard that traditional media is dead, especially radio and TV. Where are we in terms of it being dead? Are we still there?
No, the data is different. There's a report I'm going to release. It was made by these guys called Real Analytics, and a bit of it was done by Kantar, which is one of the leading top data firms in Africa. So in regards to data, if anything in Kenya, I want to read for you the specific report, because it did a 2025 report on the state of media landscape consumption in Kenya. So average media spend on traditional media has dropped 27%. So TV is down 29%, radio 24%, print 32%. However, a big part of this is because of that betting thing that was put in place that restricted how they are advertising. So it's not that they dropped because of digital. I actually think we've gotten to a place where the two now need to exist together. Right now, it's what we are calling integrated media. Digital was big for a while because of COVID. So digital was essential. So it's been created such that digital is very essential. So you'll find firms like Samsung, Apple, a big part of their marketing, 70% of their marketing spend, 60 to 70, is in digital. Then the rest now goes to the other channels based on data and research that they have. Now, an interesting thing to note is that in Kenya, radio is a big part of Kenyans. It's dropped kidogo, but it's still key. Radio and TV combined are bigger than digital in Kenya. That is why I say sometimes, I think it's that thing where people say Nairobians live in a bubble, where we think this is how things are. But in truth, in as much as spend has reduced on traditional platforms, they are still a bigger part of the function of everything as compared to digital. It's a very interesting thing.
So that's pretty interesting because, like, if you walk to a home, let's say even in Ushago where there's no steamer, they probably like to have like a radio somewhere.
Kwanza local language, because then it deconstructs and decentralizes information. It's a very interesting thing. And out of home, billboards are also back. As you've seen with Nairobi, they are in every corner to where now it's irritating. But yeah, out of home is also back. So we are literally in the integrated media part. As a brand to grow, you will need an integration of both traditional and digital to be able to scale well.
So not dead just yet. Okay, that's well understood. Okay, so I have a quick segment I usually do called rapid fire. So what I've done, I've prepared 10 questions for you. So the idea is just I'll read the question to you. Give me short and quick answers to the questions. And I think it should be fun. So ready?
Yes.
Okay, so the first question is when you were young, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be Ben Carson because we read Think Big.
Yeah, that's a good role model to have. Second question, what's the biggest misconception people have about AI?
That AI is replacing humans. It's just amplifying humans.
Third question, who inspires you most in the marketing world?
Bozoma St. John. Bozoma is a black woman whose roots are in Ghana, but she's American. She was the head of marketing of so many top 500 companies. She's brilliant and she's unapologetic of who she is.
So the fourth question, if AI could speak, what will it say to humans?
Use me better. We're using AI the wrong way, and that's why we're having a certain climate issue in regards to specific places. You're having like a water issue where OpenAI data centers are in America because people are not using AI correctly and they're not using it better. So I think it would say use me better.
So fifth question, describe marketing in one word.
Connection.
Sixth, what's one app or AI tool you think that every farmer should download?
ChatGPT.
Seventh question, what is your favorite book?
Start with Why by Simon Sinek.
Eighth, what's one piece of advice that people who don't understand AI should ignore?
AI is hard. It isn't.
Ninth question, what's one quote that resonates with you most?
Die empty.
10th question, if you could advise your 18-year-old self, what advice could you give to her?
Start now. It's never that serious. In 5 years, it won't matter.
All right, so those are 10 questions. Thank you again for making time for the podcast. I really, really appreciate. If someone wanted to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
Anywhere, you just write Nyandia Gachago, I'll pop up. If you find the fake pages, which is notorious on TikTok, look for the one with the ACIM, which just means I'm a chartered marketer.
Pretty good one. So I think people are going to find a lot of value from this conversation. You've been very open in terms of like sharing your knowledge and all the wisdom you've garnered through this period. So I really, really appreciate it. And so hope you enjoyed the podcast. Till the next one, remember to be organic. Cheers.